Welcome to the Dr. Diane Show, where we explore revolutionary expansion of mind, body, and soul with me, Dr. Diane Hayden. With over 20 years of expertise as a mindset warrior, perspective shifter, and unshakable optimist, I am dedicated to helping you reach your wildest dreams in business, health, performance, and relationships. Learn about the power of thought and how it shapes your life to take risks, change careers, find love, go on adventures, and live passionately with me, Dr. Diane. Get ready for revolutionary ways of thinking, being, and creating an amazing life. The Dr. Diane Show starts now. Hi, everyone. I am Dr. Diane Hayden, and you are listening to the Dr. Diane Show on Transformation Talk Radio. Stay with us for the next hour while we will explore revolutionary expansion of mind, body, and soul. Each week on the Dr. Diane Show, we will have experts from around the country discussing cutting-edge topics on longevity medicine, natural health, mindset, and soul purpose to help you shift your perspective and become a mindset warrior like me. I've been studying successful people for years in all areas of life, career, entrepreneurism, health and performance, relationships, spiritual and personal development, and found that they all have the same 5 characteristics that I believe are essential to being wildly successful in any endeavor. And we're going to be talking a lot about that today, for sure. I'm excited to talk to you a little bit about my philosophies on what these essential characteristics are and just give you some tips on how to develop them yourself. And I have actually coined an acronym for this that I call the SPARK method. And each letter stands for a different trait or characteristic that I've noticed in successful people that I've been studying, and how I think it plays a role in your life and how you can develop these characteristics more so and use them essentially to become more successful. And like I said earlier, really just in all areas of your life, your career, your health, your relationships, if you're working on spiritual or personal development, all of that. And before we talk about what each of those letters, that acronym, means in terms of the SPARK method, I wanted to kind of recap what we were talking about the last couple of weeks in terms of the power that thoughts and your belief systems and words actually have on your life. And again, in all areas of your life. And there was actually a study in Psychology Today back in 2012. I think I mentioned this last week, that according to Dr. Andrew Newberg and Mark Robert Waldman, they wrote a book called Words Can Change Your Brain. They are doing studies that actually show that the words that you say to yourself, the words that people say to you, are things that can literally have an impact on your brain. They can change your brain. They can, cause health issues. They can create scenarios that have positive effects on your life, and they can create scenarios that have negative effects on your life. And one of the studies actually showed that subjects who were put through a functional MRI scanner, which basically is taking a video of the neural changes in your brain, when they flashed the word no for less than 1 second, they actually saw a sudden release of dozens of stress-producing hormones and neurotransmitters. So for these subjects that were in this MRI scanner, they, flashed the word no. The subject saw the word no on a screen, and they were measuring all these different chemicals and neurotransmitters and hormones that were being released. And these chemicals can immediately interrupt the normal functioning of your brain. They can impair logic, reason, language processing, communication, which to me was really quite amazing and fascinating, that, just hearing the word like no, which could be charged depending on how it's being said to you, or it could really come across with no emotional charge. But just the fact that the word is no, we're actually seeing that there are releases of stress producing hormones in people's brains. So think about that for a second. We're talking about just the word no, but what if we talk about some words that are, typically more inflammatory, negative words, things, maybe you're in an argument with somebody, or you get into a heated discussion with your partner or your boss, and think about sometimes the negative things that we say or that people say to us. What kind of impact is that having on our health, and what kinds of hormones are being released? And you'd have to believe that it's got to be a cascade of, even more hormones and um, negative stress producing hormones, because look what's happening when we just see the word no or hear the word no. So that was pretty amazing to me. And, the more I learn about this and the more research I read, it seems that even just seeing a list of these kinds of negative words for a few seconds or hearing them for a few seconds can make a highly anxious or depressed person feel worse. And the more that that person ruminates on them, the more you can actually damage key structures that regulate your memory, your feelings, your emotions. And then that can lead to sleep disruption, disruption with your appetite, your ability to experience long-term happiness and satisfaction. So it's pretty amazing to me when you stop and think about it, like the impact, how serious this is in terms of all these physiological things that are happening in your body just by seeing a list of negative words, let alone hearing them, or even things that you might be saying to yourself, hearing them in your own head or hearing them from another person who is speaking to you. And in fact, even more research showed that if you vocalize this negativity or even slightly frown when you say the word no, or when you say a negative word, more stress chemicals are released, not only in your brain, but also in the listener's brain as well. So that means whether you're saying it to somebody else or somebody else is saying it to you, the negative words are actually affecting both people, the person speaking and the person listening. So that's a double dose. Pretty amazing. Absolutely. So I wanted to, the reason why I'm kind of recapping on this is because I'm just thinking about the impact that words have. And we're talking about negative words, and obviously it's the opposite. If you have, if you are saying positive words, positive information, affirmations, or people are saying positive to you, it's the release of feel good chemicals happens as well. So we should really be focusing on, how do we be more positive in terms of the things we say to ourselves and also the things that we say to other people. I mean, think about every time you're in an argument with somebody, or you are angry with someone, or whatever happens, somebody cuts you off on the highway, think about how things could be different if we just paused for a minute and remembered that every time we have these negative thoughts or say these negative things, we potentially, are releasing all these negative chemicals in our body. And how can we basically, just take a moment and make sure, or try to make sure, that that doesn't happen, or that we reduce that. It would really be amazing when, I think, if we thought about physiologically what is happening every time we say these negative words or somebody is saying them to us, to be able to pause and take a minute and think about it before we speak. I mean, obviously, I'm sure many of you have had experiences where, you have been able to have that kind of presence and thoughtfulness, and you haven't allowed yourself to, you know, jump into the back and forth, the argument, the negativity. You've been able to pause. You always feel better. You always, I think, are able to choose your words more carefully. You're able to not go down into a really negative type of argument. So we all know that we've had that, that situation where we've been able to stop and pause, and we've probably had a better outcome. And we haven't even thought about it from the perspective of, oh, how did it affect me physiologically? Well, we probably know we actually have a different feeling. We feel better if we don't get enraged and angry and yelling and whatnot. But if you can just have more presence about that, yeah, probably the reason why you feel better is because you're not releasing all those negative stress, heightening hormones and all those neurotransmitters. So definitely, I think, we need to think, to be able to practice, I guess, to be able to have the wherewithal to take that pause. And to me, I'm sure those of you who are listening are thinking, well, yeah, it sounds like a great idea, but who's thinking about that when they're getting all angry and pissed off, and that you want to, yell back, or yell at someone because they've wronged you in some way. The way that I've been able to do it, really, I think, and I'm not saying I am able to do this every time, but the times that I have been able to take that pause, I believe is because of my practice of meditation. And when you meditate, it's a practice of being able to hear a thought, so to speak, and let that thought go. And one thing I always like to tell people about when I'm teaching people about meditation, or, people asking questions about it, is the goal of meditation is not to stop the thoughts. That's never going to happen unless you're someone who's been practicing meditation for your entire life. And even then, I don't think that it's possible to entirely stop all thinking. But the goal is to have a thought and let it go. Have a thought and let it go. Don't hang on to it. Don't ruminate it. Don't follow that rabbit hole. And so the better you are at doing that, the better you are at pausing when you need to get yourself out of a negative thought situation, or out of a negative conversation, or out of an argument. I think you're better able to do that the more you practice meditation, because meditation teaches you to let the thought go and to have basically, a pause in your thinking and your mental activity. So I would recommend, even if you only meditate 5 minutes a day, it's better than nothing. It's helped me in so many different situations and over my life, as far as, um, being able to be more thoughtful about the things that I'm saying, or take a pause if I'm in an argument and really choose my words carefully. So, we are going to talk more about the power of thoughts and words. You're listening to the Dr. Diane Show with me, Dr. Diane Hayden. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we will explore more about the power of thoughts and words and the SPARK method. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. We're back on the Dr. Diane Show with me, Dr. Diane Hayden. I am talking to you today about the power of thoughts and words on your physiological systems. But before we continue, I want to make sure everyone knows how to contact me. You can find me at www.drdianehayden.com, or at either of my two publications, www.naturalnutmeg.com and www.essentialnaples.com. Those are my two holistic lifestyle magazines we publish in Connecticut and Southwest Florida. There's a ton of amazing content and information on both of those websites. You can pretty much go there and just type in just about any chronic health issue that you have, or question that you might have, or preventative questions or tips or things like that. And you'll pull up close to 15 years worth of content that we have published from local experts in the Connecticut and Florida areas. So those are two great resources for you. So I want to jump back into what we're talking about today, which is the power of thoughts and belief systems and words. And how many of you have heard of the water water experiments that were done by Masaru Emoto back in the late 1990s. He's a Japanese scientist that performed experiments on frozen water, and he was testing the crystallization of this water through the use of positive and negative verbiage. So he actually took two containers of water, and to one container, he spoke negative words and phrases to it. And to the other container, he spoke positive words and phrases. And I'm envisioning right now, like talking to a plant. And I don't know, I think people have actually done studies on this too, where they've actually, talked to plants and said negative words and phrases to plants. And the plant has actually, gotten unhealthy and possibly even died versus positive. So any of you who struggle with having a green thumb, maybe you should try putting some love on your plants and see what happens, because what these experiments that he's done are pretty amazing, and you can Google them. It's Masaru, Masaru, Emoto, Emoto, and you'll get tons of research and information on these different experiments that he did. But what's fascinating is after a period of time of, speaking negative words to one cup of water and positive words to the other, the negative water actually produced ugly, cloudy crystal formations, while the container of water that was, spoken positive words to and positive phrases and meditated over actually produced clear, beautiful crystals, which is what we would normally see in nature. And the point of the study was honestly just to demonstrate the power of words and their impact on how living things can be transformed. And same thing with what we're talking about with the human body. I absolutely believe that, and we've seen it with these different studies, that when you say negative things or you think negative things, it really does have a physiological effect on your body, both negative or positive. And honestly, it's really just a matter of, what do you say to yourself? Are you constantly saying things like, I can't, or I won't, or I'm not good enough? Or are you saying things that are more empowering, like I can, I will, I'm able? And the key is to make these words speak for you. Choose your language and you'll change your life. I've said that, a million times to people. And, it's interesting because I don't think, most people kind of look at me and laugh and just, they don't think that there's that much power in the words that we say to ourselves or the thoughts that we have, for sure. And it's just when you talk to, doctors that do believe in these kinds of things, when doctors teach patients to turn negative thoughts and worries into positive affirmations, the patient actually gets better most times. They regain more self-control and more confidence. And Dr. Bernie Siegel, he's a surgical oncologist, has written articles and books about this for years and years, about how important it is to, as a doctor, to really be aware of what kinds of things you say to your patients. And he's actually done some studies that have shown that terminally ill patients, if they believed that they were going to beat the disease, that they, didn't believe that they had a terminal illness or didn't believe that that was going to be their fate, they actually lived significantly longer than people who accepted it, accepted their doctor saying to them, you have 3 months to live or 6 months to live. There was a huge percentage of people that if they accepted that diagnosis date, they actually passed away in that length of time that was given to them. So that's pretty, to me, that is really powerful when you think about, wow, if I just, focus on what I believe and what I want to have happen, that I have control over that versus what someone is telling me is going to happen. So let's get into the spark method, because I think that we've talked enough about the power of words and how important those words are, and I want to spend the rest of the time we have together today talking about the 5 words that I think are probably the most essential characteristics when I've studied people who are successful, like I said earlier, in their career, their profession, in their health or performance, in their relationships, in their personal and spiritual development. I kept seeing these different characteristics in terms of similarities across all of these, different people. And so I came up with the word spark because each letter stands for one of these characteristics. But the other reason I like this word is because I think that spark, to me, yes, it's an acronym, but spark as a word also has a great deal of meaning. And to me, it's basically, what is it that kind of ignites the fire in people? It's a spark. And that could be, what is it that ignites the fire to build a business, to do better in your career, to find a relationship, to maintain that relationship, to improve your health? There has to be something inside of you that drives you to do all those things. And that, to me, is it. There has to be a spark behind it. And so when I looked at these different characteristics and started writing things down, and then, came up with this acronym, it really impacted me because I felt like, oh, wow, even the word itself to me means, it is something that I think all these people have as far as a characteristic. They have a spark, they have a desire, they have a drive, they have this thing inside of them that pushes them to be disciplined when they need to be, to persevere, to overcome obstacles, all of that. So that's kind of where I came up with the word. And then we'll talk about each of the different, what each of the different letters mean. So let me go through those first, and then I'm going to talk about each one individually. So spark. So S stands for self-confidence and self-awareness. And P stands for passion and purpose. A stands for action. R stands for resilience. And K stands for kindness. So I'll just go through those one more time. Spark, S stands for self-confidence, self-awareness. P stands for passion and purpose. A stands for action. R stands for resilience. And K stands for kindness. So let's first talk about self-confidence and self-awareness. I like that we start with that, because I think that anytime you're starting something, again, whether you're starting a business, you're starting a relationship, you're starting personal development work, you're starting a new lifestyle routine, you're starting to improve your health, I think one of the most important things, or where you need to start, is the self-awareness of what you want and how you're going to get there, and the self-confidence to do it. So when I look at people who are hugely successful, the words that they are saying to themselves are, I'm going to make this work. I'm going to figure out how to do this. I'm going to be successful. I'm going to win. And not things like, I can't do it. I'm not good enough. I'll never get there. They have the self-confidence to move forward with whatever it is they want to do. And it's funny because I was just talking to my massage therapist yesterday, and she started her own business like I did a few years ago. She was working for another spa, and then she decided that she was going to go out on her own. And I said to her, what was it about you that gave you the courage to do that, or the inspiration or whatever? And she said to me, well, I basically, looked at the owner of the spa and thought to myself, well, I can do what she's doing. And I said, that's true. A lot of people would say they could do what their boss is doing, but do they really go out and do it? There's not a lot of people that would actually really go out and do it. And so she thought about that, and she was like, yeah, I guess I just felt like I had the knowledge, I had the passion, and I had the confidence. And so that's where I came up with self-confidence, self-awareness. Are you aware of what it is that you want? And do you have the confidence to go out and do it? When I started my first magazine in Connecticut, Natural Nutmeg, it basically came down to the thoughts that were running through my head when I thought about, you know, what if this doesn't work? I mean, everybody has those thoughts, as confident as you are. What if nobody reads the magazine? What if no one wants to advertise? The thing that kept coming back to me is, well, I know I'm going to be successful, and I'm more willing to take a risk and figure out that it can't be done than to never have tried to do it. And I think that boils down to just, being confident that you can do that and being okay with taking risks. And I think that's part of, being confident too. So we're going to get to the next four. You are listening to the Dr. Diane Show with me, Dr. Diane Hayden. We are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we will explore more about the SPARK method. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hi, we are back on the Dr. Diane Show with me, Dr. Diane Hayden, and I am talking to you today about the power thoughts and words have on your physical body and my proprietary SPARK method. So we were just wrapping up the letter S, which stands for self-confidence and self-awareness. And I was talking a little bit about, my massage therapist and my own, I guess, thoughts and belief systems when I was starting my business. And I think it would be interesting to have you, the listener, think of a time when you were successful at something. What was your mindset? What were your thoughts? And then think of a time when you failed at something and see if you can actually feel or remember the different thought patterns that you had, the different belief systems that you had. I think you'll remember, or you'll find that you actually had many positive thoughts and belief systems when you were successful at something, and more negative or worrisome or, not confident thoughts and belief patterns when you failed at something. And I can absolutely give you a number of different occurrences in, my life. I think the last show or the show before, I talked about my dissertation and how I had concerns about whether or not I was going to be able to pass the oral exam. And because of that, I got, so wrapped up in that I created that situation where I didn't pass because of my statistics and had to go back and redo everything. But I definitely, when I think about that, I definitely can see the difference in my mindset going into my dissertation defense versus the mindset I had when I started Natural Nutmeg. I mean, literally, I almost feel like I was two different people. And the thoughts and the words that I said to myself when I was starting the magazine were completely different, positive, confident, risk-taking, passionate than the things that I was saying to myself when I was in my doctoral program. So I think you'll find the same for sure. It's pretty fascinating. So the next letter, P, stands for passion and purpose. And I'm sure all of you would agree that in order to be successful in anything, I don't care what it is, you have to be passionate about it. You can't be, you can't climb the wrong mountain, so to speak, and expect to be wildly successful if it's not the mountain that you're passionate about climbing. And I think this is the thing that I find most people struggle with when they're trying to change their lifestyle, for example. I see it in business a lot too. I mean, I see many practitioners that have started, a practice, but their passion is just not there. They might have started it because they had a health issue that they were dealing with. I mean, I work mostly with holistic practitioners, or maybe a family member had something and they thought that was what they wanted to do. There was some purpose in that, but they weren't really passionate about it. And all those people that I can think of that had that, that I think had that perspective, some of them are still in business, but it's more like a hobby than a wildly successful business. So I think, passion is something, you with a career, with lifestyle, whatever it is, you have to be getting out of bed every day, excited about what you're doing. And, you know, weight loss is a great example to talk about because I'll say this, who's excited about that? Most people dread it because they think they're going to have to, be eating stuff that they don't like to eat. They're not going to have any of their favorite foods. They're going to have to exercise. You have to turn that into being passionate about changing your lifestyle because you have you want to live for something, because you don't want to get diseases, or if you have started down that path of chronic disease, you want to fix that. You want to be around for your children and grandchildren. You have to find another way that you can be passionate about changing a lifestyle, because to do it just because you need to lose weight, you may do it initially, but it's never going to be something that's lasting. At least I've never seen anybody who's had lasting change without figuring out a way to be passionate about it. I think that is the key. It's so funny, you see all these crazy fad diets and exercise programs and books and you name it. And it's all about, oh, you got to do this diet, or you got to fast, or you got to, do this exercise program, or whatever it is. No one's talking about, how about you figure out something you're passionate about, a lifestyle that you're passionate about, and then the rest of it kind of falls into place. And that's one of the things, maybe I should write that book actually. Well, that's one of the things that I think is missing in terms of, all these weight loss gurus and books and whatever, is they're not teaching people that they need to find something that they're passionate about, a way to change their lifestyle that they're going to be passionate about. So think about when you were the most excited about your life. What is it that made you jump out of bed, eager to start your day? And I do this exercise a lot with people that I'm helping, make a career change. And, they're midlife and they're just tired of what they're doing, or maybe they went down the wrong path. Like I said before, climbed the wrong mountain to begin with. Maybe they just went and got a job because they needed money, and they got, 1 year leads to the next and the next, and they ended up staying in this position, but it's not something that they were ever really passionate about. So now they're looking to make a change. So I teach people to go on what I call a passion quest. If you need to find, you're not sure what you're really passionate about or what your purpose is. And that can be a day, or it could be a weekend, or it could be a week, or it could be longer. But I teach people to take the time to really write down everything you're passionate about. And I mean, when I say everything, I mean everything, completely unrelated to work, or maybe you're passionate about travel. Maybe you're passionate about food. Maybe you're passionate about animals, or you're passionate about helping or working with kids. Just write down everything that you are passionate about. Things that make you want to jump out of bed every day. Things that get you super excited. Things that you would do if you never made any money doing them. And after you, feel like you've exhausted all of your thought process and you have this list, then I teach people to see where there are congruencies, or where things might match up together. It's a great coaching exercise. I would also recommend, absolutely working with a life coach or a business coach on this and helping you. Sometimes it's hard, when you're to be objective and, kind of see where things match up. But I've had a lot of people actually find a new career that they are super passionate about because they did this exercise and they figured out that a lot of their passions actually combined into a particular line of work, and they made a complete career change. So I think it's highly valuable for sure to, to spend some time thinking about what your passions are, or what your purpose might be, why you're here. I mean, I believe we all are here for some reason. We all have different talents. We all have something to give. So we all have a sole purpose, and it's just a matter of taking the time to figure out what that is if you haven't already. And then the third letter, A, stands for action. I love this one because I feel like for a lot of people, this is the missing link. They have the self-confidence, they know what they're passionate about, and then they watched the movie or read the book The Secret too many times, and they thought, oh, well, I'll just think about it and I'll bring it to me. That's my biggest gripe with that movie or that teaching, is that I feel like it left out kind of the most important part, that yes, you need to visualize it. Yes, you need to meditate on it. Yes, you need to think positively about it. But you also need to do something, which means you need to take action, because taking action sends messages to your subconscious mind that you are committed to your goal. And that's the initiative really that will take you anywhere. The most successful people I know consistently write down their goals and then take action on them. And I think that, it's sometimes it can be scary. Sometimes it can be a lot of work. Most times it's a lot of work. But it's just day by day, really. It's how I think the most successful people get to where they are is that every day they took action. So one thing I like to teach, and I do this for myself, is at the end of the day, I'll write down 3 things that I need to do the next day. One, usually like a stretch thing that I need to do, like maybe I need to, contact a bigger advertiser like Integrative Medical Center, and I don't really have a contact there. So it's going to take me time to get through to the right person. So like a big goal, and then 2 other smaller goals, like 3 action steps that you're going to do. And the process of doing that every single day, day by day by day, it's the same thing as weight loss. Okay. Like tomorrow I'm going to get up and I'm going to walk 30 minutes. And the next day I'm going to do that again and again and again, or whatever your exercise program is. Or I'm going to make sure that I have my meals scheduled for the week. And tomorrow I'm going to, eat this healthy food, eat this, meal plan. And I do that the next day, the next day, the next day. It's certainly not glamorous, sometimes not even exciting, but it's those daily steps, those daily habits, those daily action things that you do that will get you eventually to where you want to be. And honestly, so many successful people I've talked to have said it was so hard to see that I was making any progress in the middle of it. But after 3 months, after 6 months, after a year, oh my God, I saw that I had done all these things for my business. I saw my revenue increase, or if it's with weight loss, you know, I saw a completely different change in my body, or I saw, my weight decreasing, or whatever it is. So it's those little things that take, one step, one day at a time, one step at a time. Those little things, taking those action steps every day. This is the Dr. Diane Show with me, Dr. Diane Hayden. We're going to take another quick break. And when we return, I will share with you more tips on my proprietary Spark method. Stay tuned. Hi, we're back on the Dr. Diane Show with me, Dr. Diane Hayden, and I am talking to you today about the power of thought in your belief systems and my proprietary Spark method. If you would like to contact me, you can go to my website, www.drdianehayden.com or www.naturalnutmeg.com. All my info is on the contact page, and you can sign up for our monthly newsletters as well. So we've been talking about the Spark method. We talked a little bit about S standing for self-confidence, self-awareness. P stands for passion and purpose. A stands for action. And the R stands for resilience. And this is, well, I'm going to say it's one of my favorite ones, although it's probably the hardest one to master. But I think resilience is probably the characteristic that's make it or break it. Certainly if you don't have self-confidence or self-awareness, you might not even start a new life change or career change or whatever it is. But I find more often that the thing that really determines, the characteristic that really determines who has longevity in terms of a business or a relationship or lifestyle changes, that kind of thing, are the people that are resilient. And the reason I say that is because in the creation of anything new and even the maintenance of anything for long periods of time, you will absolutely meet with resistance. And what I mean by resistance is it comes in the form of things like fear, things like self-doubt, procrastination, distraction, perfectionism, all those things that we hear in our head all the time about how we're not good enough, we don't have what it takes, we aren't going to be able to, do whatever it is we need to do. We can do it tomorrow. All these things, like, oh, it's raining today, I'll just exercise tomorrow. Or, oh, I'm not in the mood to pick up the phone and make the phone calls that I have to make to close a sale, all that kind of stuff. That's resistance. And resilience is what you must develop to overcome resistance. And to me, in order to do that, that goes back to having purpose. What is your why? What is your purpose? Why are you doing what you're doing? What is your why that will enable you to persevere to accomplish anything you desire? How do you develop the strength to overcome obstacles, which everybody faces, right? Like, I don't care whether it's, an obstacle in your business, obstacles in your relationship, obstacles in your health goals or your health or your lifestyle change. They're going to be there. Those things don't go away. In fact, sometimes I think the universe purposely challenges us to see how badly we really want something. I've said that so many times to people that I've coached. Like, honestly, I've felt that many times over my years, like, especially with my dissertation, I was being challenged. Like, how badly did I really want this degree? And I've been challenged a million times in building a business. And, that's what I think. Like, how badly do I want to be an entrepreneur? How badly do I want to be successful with this business? So you need to develop the strength to overcome these obstacles. You need to learn how to deal with fear and doubt by moving towards those emotions instead of away from them. And there's going to be days where you'll want to give up. We all have those days, right? Like, we all think, is this worth it? Maybe I'm not supposed to be in this line of work, or, maybe this business is too difficult. Maybe I'm not in the right relationship. I don't feel like working out today. This is too much of a struggle. Those are the things that we're going to say to ourselves all the time. There's going to be good days and there's going to be bad days with anything that we do in any of those categories, for sure. And resilience, I think, is just about, every time you have an obstacle, you fall down, you struggle with something, whatever it is, you got to get back up and keep taking the steps. I mean, I know there's a quote, and I'm not going to remember it verbatim, by Michael Jordan. And it's something to the effect of, how many foul shots he missed, how many times he practiced foul shots and how many he missed. But all we ever see is how amazing he is in the game, right? It's like it seems like he made every foul shot, right? Or every shot didn't even matter. Like, every shot that he threw up goes in the basket. But all the times that he missed, we don't see that. All the times that an entrepreneur struggled with, with something with their business, we don't see that. All we see are their successes. Every time, somebody was not successful with some lifestyle change that they were trying to make, we don't see, when we look at wildly successful people, we don't see all the times they failed, but they were there. Like, if you research pretty much anybody, most of them who are honest and vulnerable and who've put things like that out there, you'll find that a lot of them struggled a lot, failed a lot until they actually made it. Like authors, I think so many authors that, amazing best-selling authors that sent their books around to a gazillion publishers and got turned down, I don't know how many times. And they just kept at it. Like, literally, I think the people who just keep taking one more step That's the only difference between the ones who are wildly successful and the ones who aren't. It's literally taking that one more step for sure. So resilience to me, one of the most important things. And then the last letter, K, stands for kindness. And a lot of people say to me like, wow, what does that mean? Like, how did that one get in there? It's not, it's not so like action oriented, I guess. But I think that kindness is one of the most important characteristics, being able to be kind to yourself. So I was visiting Claiborne Farm in Kentucky, and this is a thoroughbred horse racing farm where they breed thoroughbred racers. And we actually got to do a tour to meet the retired racers. And we were talking to one of the women who's the director there and a trainer. And she said to me, I bet you all think that training a thoroughbred is continual, hard, disciplined work. Like we get those horses out on the track and we're training them every day. They're running, they're, constantly being worked, et cetera, et cetera. And probably most people would agree with that, right? Like to be a thoroughbred, you've probably got to do a lot of hard training. And what she said next shocked me. She was like, no, actually the training must be like play. In other words, the trainer needs to be so tuned into the horse that they need to know when it's not fun for the horse anymore. And then they need to stop the training, because if they don't, the horse either will not perform or they'll get injured. They'll overtrain, all those kinds of things. So I thought that was really interesting and kind of a cool, analogy to how we should be, how humans should be too. Like, think about all the times when you gave yourself a vacation or you just took a random day off. You normally come back with more inspiration, more excitement for your work. You're fired up about it, all of that stuff. So the training must be like play, whether it's for a thoroughbred or it's for you. And that means you need to be kind to yourself. You need to love yourself enough to know when your work is no longer like play and you need a break. So how do you do that? I think that's difficult. I'm probably one of the hardest people. I'm a person who is very hard on myself in terms of I need to work more, I need to work harder, I need to do better. I shouldn't take this time off. And then I have to stop and think to myself, wait a minute. Like the reason I became an entrepreneur, one of the reasons is because I love freedom. I'll work a weekend, I'll work late in the evening, I'll work whenever, but I want the ability to work when I want to work, because I want to be able to, if I want to go to the gym in the afternoon or the morning, or I want to take a walk or whatever it is, I want to be able to have that freedom. And then I find myself working like a 9-to-5 job. I'm like laughing because I'm thinking to myself, the reason you became an entrepreneur was so you could do those things. You could take time off when you wanted to. No one was telling you, when you could or couldn't take a vacation, when you could or couldn't take time off. And then you turn around and you basically discipline yourself as if you were working a regular job. So just so funny. I just find that so amazingly, interesting for sure. But anyway, so that is the Spark method. I hope you've all enjoyed it. It's definitely, like I said, something that I find fascinating and interesting, and have definitely seen these characteristics in all of the successful people that I have followed for sure. So I want to thank you for tuning into the Dr. Diane Show. Please join me every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern and 8 a.m. Pacific. Next week on the Dr. Diane Show, we'll be discussing more about the power of thoughts and beliefs and the impact they have on your life. Have a great week, and I'll see you back here next time. Thank you for tuning into the Dr. Diane Show, revolutionary expansion of mind, body, and soul with me, Dr. Diane Hayden. Tune in every Thursday at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern on transformationtalkradio.com. Center your thoughts on what you want and shut the door on every suggestion of fear, worry, or lack from your own consciousness or the consciousness around you. Once you master that, everything is possible. To learn more about me, Dr. Diane, and receive a free digital subscription of my magazine, visit naturalnutmeg.com.